Hi, my name is Chudong. In this video, I'm going to do a tutorial about FHIR, FHIR. This is CS6440 strategy assignment number 4. My name is Chudong. So what is FHIR and what is it used for? So FHIR is short for Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resource, and it's we have a lot of resources in the healthcare, such as patient's name, their address, and their conditions, and their medicine, and so on. So all these kind of resources, we have a lot of them. So FHIR is in the format. We can store these resources into this kind of format, and these resources can be operated on its own, and it can also interact with each other. So this is why we call them interoperability. And it's mainly used on web, and it's based on such as XML and JSON structures. So why do we use it? So this is referred to in article online, and the main reasons is that first of all, it's very fast and easy to implement the FHIR, and then it has its own library, so you don't need to invent the wheel. You can just use it, and and it's free to public. You don't have to pay it, and of course interoperability between resources, and it's still evolving in the industry, and it has these public standards like XML, JSON, HTTP, and so on, and it has support RESTful structure, which we'll get into more. For this RESTful structure, it's very useful for extract data, store data, and so on. And it's human readable format, which you can read even if you don't know a lot of coding, and it's backed by a lot of ontologies, so it's widely used. So this is about what is FHIR and what is it used for, and why do we use it, and so what are the specific use cases for FHIR in the health IT industry? So the first one is, for example, personal health record. So a patient could have a long personal health record, and it could be scattering everywhere. But with FHIR system, they can put all this information into the system, and then become your personal health record, such as what kind of a disease you have, and what doctors do you have, and what kind of immunization you have. So FHIR can store all this information as a personal health record. And the second use case is the document sharing between different entities, such as the doctor, the hospital, and different doctor, and then they can share this information through the FHIR. The third one is decision making. So this is from this website. It says FHIR has support for common decision support interaction between these separate systems, and then this information can help this the collaboration between different entities, and they can make the decision they need to make based on this information that they have from FHIR. So here's an interesting another use case for from this article here, and it gives a flow chart. It is the lab order comes from this core point engine, and then send it to the lab, and then the lab send the result back to this engine, and the engine will store it into the electronic health record file repository, and then the doctor or the patient can use the phone app to access these records. Now this is use case 5. This is also an interesting one. Once the patient record or immunization record is in the repository, they can either use their mobile app with the RESTful web service to access the record, or they can go onto their website and use this web service to get to the core point engine, and then use the RESTful service and access. So you have multiple ways of accessing your records. So these are the several use cases I want to mention. So yeah. Now, what are the challenges or weaknesses of FHIR? So there are a lot of articles talking about this, that the important thing is the security of the FHIR server, such as in this article, the health IT developer, they find vulnerability in the FHIR servers. If you don't set it up, use the right protocol, you might end up vulnerable on the server side, so that people can explore those vulnerabilities. And also there are some API problems. So API are used to control the data transfer between the server and the patient or the other operations. So if the API in most cases, the APIs are set up by the company who uses the FHIR. So sometimes, a lot of times, these APIs are really simple. So they are so simple that they're not sophisticated. So it can be easily changed or have vulnerability, and they are subject to easy change. So you can easily change the content of the API, which could be not good for the server or the API. So there could be weaknesses. So APIs are often unsafe when people who set it up don't set it up in the correct way. So it could be unsafe. So the bad people could use this unsafe API and do some damage. So you can refer to these papers. I will put all these links to the end of the presentation. So the next thing is the FHIR CRUD operations. So what is CRUD? C is create, R is read, update, U is update, and D is delete operations. So simply put, you have to have resources on the server, so you can create these resources like patients, observations, and so on, and then people can read it. Patient or the provider, they can read these resources. So this is the read, create, and read. And then you can also update it. If you have a new lab results or a new patient you want to add in, or you want to update this information of the new patient, the patient, you can update it. And you can also delete the resources if you want to. So we are gonna get more into this. I'm gonna demonstrate how do we do this CRUD operations in a later time. Now I'm gonna demonstrate how to do the CRUD operations on the server that we just created. Now let's go to the server that we just created, and this is the one, and click on the REST console. With this REST is a pre-standard operation protocols. So you can use it to do the CRUD operations. So this simplest one, let's take a look at the create, the C first, create. And it has a tutorial here, so let's take a look at it. So the first one, create, let's create a patient, a simple one. So this is the information of the patient, the name, the given name, given name Max, and the gender, address, and then the telephone, home phone, this one, then birthday, and so on. And this is a JSON file. Let's copy it. Actually, this is the response of this JSON. So the request, which is the post. Then how do we create it? We use this create, copy all this information, Max, mail, and this thing, and then we paste it in here. So this is like we call it console. Why we call it console? Because all this command here can be executed by Control plus Enter. So if we put the post a patient, and then this patient will be created onto our server. So let's do the Control Enter. Here we go. So status 201 means it's successful. Successfully created a patient name, Max, and the address, and their phone number, birthday, and so on. And you give it the ID. So let's remember this ID. Copy it. So the next step, let's read it. How do we read it? First of all, let's remove all this, and then let's see. Get patient is actually what we need. Get patient and give it the ID. So this is a simple operation that we just want to get the information of the patient, and then we can do the Control and Enter and see what happens. Status 200 means we have successfully found the patient on the server, which we just created here. So this is how you read it. We create it, we read it. The next thing is we can update it. How do we update it? Let's take a look at here. So if you want to update it, we can use put. So put this thing, and let me copy it here, because the ID, the example used is different from us, so we need to use the ID that of our patient. So remove this and use the put. So the birthday, let's call it 1988, August 18. Let's try this. And this is how you update. So status successfully updated the patient information. Now let's see if we can read it. Alright, the same thing. We use this get to read it. Now, see, this is the birthday I just put in, so which means the patient information has been updated. Now, next is the delete operation. How do we delete it? It's let's see, delete patient. We use delete this patient. So simple. We just copy delete instead of get. Let's see, Control Enter. Status successful. So let's see if we can still get it. There you go. You see, the ID has been deleted. So that's how we do the simple operation of CRUD. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to use the bundles. So bundle operation is a pretty useful operation on FHIR. So bundles, you can put in a lot of informations in the bundle, such as the name of the patient, and you can get its birthday, its address, a lot of things you bundle into the whole thing. It's just the name, bundle the whole thing. So here you can upload things with the bundle. You can also download things with the bundle operation. So here I'm going to demonstrate how to upload a bundle onto the server that we just created. So we use post operation, and this is the bundle information. So you see resource type bundle, and then this is transaction. So it has several entry, and the method is post, and then it's patient, and then the name is Bob, and post another name, and this one is second entry with the name of the Peter. So this is 2 patients in one bundle. So let's copy it here and put it onto our server that we just created, and let's see what happens. Control enter. You see bundle 2 entry with the name Bob and get another name Peter. So it has the ID. This one's for Bob, so we copy it, see if we can get it. Use the get patient. Get patient ID, and control enter. You see this is the patient we just created. So this is a simple bundle uploading operation, and yeah. Next, I'm gonna demonstrate how to search for FHIR data. This is an important operation because lots of times we want to search for important information from the FHIR server. So here, let's go to the working with REST console. So it will demonstrate. I'll demonstrate how do we search something. So we already mentioned before, to search a patient you can use get patient ID, but the patient can also have a history or something. So this is an example to get patient ID and history. Let's see what happens. Let me copy this. Copy, and then let's put it here. Actually, we already have one here. We already have ID. This is one of the patient that we created. So let's put underscore history, and then control enter. There you go. Status 200 means it's successful. So this is the history of the patient. Type, you see history, and then resources with the name Bob. His name is Bob, and then resources type is patient, and then the last update. So this is the history of this patient Bob. So there are other interesting searches, such as searching for the patient name. So this is get the patient name equals max. So here we probably don't have a max. So let's see what happens. If we don't have max on the server, let's see if we have one. We do have one. Actually, no, we don't have a patient, so the total entry is 0, so there is no max on the server. Okay, so but Bob, I think we have a Bob, right? So we use Bob and see what happens. There we go. We found the patient, even Bob, with the ID. So total is 1, only one patient named Bob. So this is how you do an easy search. You can also search other stuff like its birthday, its given name, first name, even address, lots of these things. You can go to this REST console tutorial. And that's it for this part. Now, let's discuss the use of the FHIR data type and FHIR extension and additional operations. First of all, let's take a look at the FHIR data types. So there are two types. The first one is the primitive types. So such as the date and date time, or this boolean, integer, string. Normally all these things, they only have one value. You see, there's only one value, and URL only have one value, and so on. So this kind is called the primitive types. On the other hand, the second data type is called complex data types. So it normally has a lot of terms in there, such as period. You have start and end, and attachment. You have content type, language, data, URL. So basically, every complex data type, you have several terms in there. So that's the difference between the primitive data type and complex data type. This is even more complex data types. Say address, you have use, type, text, line, city, district, state, a lot of terms that can to define these data types. And signature, you have type, when, who, on behalf of target format, and so on. So yeah, that's the difference between the complex data type and primitive data types. Now let's take a look at what is FHIR extension. So let's go to the website. So this is a FHIR extensibility. So basically, what extension is, if you have an element and you want to give more information to attach to the basic element, you can add these informations to this basic type. So this is called extension. For example, here you have a name or something, and then you can extend it with the URL and a value. So this is an example of the extension. So yeah, basically you have a object, and then you want to give the object a URL. So this is an example of the extension. So yeah, and this is the one of the example of the JSON file with the extension, and then the URL here, and then the value I, and then the text chief red cloud, whatever that is. So this is an example of the JSON of the FHIR extension. Yeah. Now there is some more additional operations for the FHIR. In addition to the CURD that we just talked about. So you have a lot more other operations you can do with the FHIR, such as data requirements and fetch a subset of the resources, and test a server, and submit a claim resources, and all these important healthcare operations. You can order something, you can fetch the product record, and generate documents, and file a function list, whatever that is. I didn't learn this one. And data requirements, and fetch a group of patient records. You can fetch part of the group of the patient record, okay, or you can fetch the entire group of the patient record, and you can do the observational statistics. So there are, I don't know, hundreds of operations that you can do with the FHIR server, which I don't have time to go a lot of it. So you have to see this to do the specific operations based on your requirement. And that concludes the FHIR tutorial that I have today, and these are the references that I used for this tutorial, and they're very beneficial. If you have time, take a look at it. It will be very interesting. And thank you very much. Have a good weekend.